Welcome back to today's podcast once again. Today we continue with Chapter 4, The Mission of Marriage, of our new book, The Meaning of Marriage, by Timothy Keller.
That's right, Chapter 4, really getting into the purpose behind it all.
But before we jump into Chapter 4, let's do a quick recap on Chapter 3, just as a refresher.
Good idea. Chapter 3 was the essence of marriage.
Yeah, Keller called it a profound mystery, referencing Ephesians 5. Glorious, he said, but also, let's be honest, hard. Requires real work, blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly. And we talked about how society often just sees it as a piece of paper, right? Reducing love to just, emotional desire.
But Keller flips that. He says biblical love isn't about getting, it's about giving. How much you're willing to lose for the other person.
And that marriage vow, it's not a restriction. It's actually this huge act of self-giving, proof that love's reached that marriage level, as he puts it.
We also contrasted that whole consumer relationship idea. You stick around as long as your needs are met with the biblical covenant.
Big difference there. That covenant, that binding promise before God and others, that's the core. It's what holds you together in the rough patches, like Ulysses tying himself to the mast.
Right. And he even mentions studies showing unhappy marriages often turn around if couples just stick with it.
Yeah, something like 2/3 becoming happy within 5 years. Commitment matters.
We touched briefly on divorce too, Matthew 19 and 1 Corinthians 7, allowed in specific severe cases, unfaithfulness, desertion, acknowledging hardness of hearts, but definitely not something to be taken lightly.
And the big takeaway was love as an action, not just a feeling. Like that pastor learning to love his congregation by serving them. You grow love by keeping your vows, even when feelings fade. It becomes that quieter but much deeper river.
We also saw how that tit-for-tat bargain mentality can really damage a marriage.
Totally undermines it, unlike, say, the unconditional love you see with a parent and child.
Okay, so that sets us up perfectly for Chapter 4, The Mission of Marriage. Keller really digs into how marriage isn't just this thing, this essence, but it has a purpose, a real power.
Yeah, he builds right on that covenant idea. Marriage as a mission, a journey towards growth, towards sanctification. It's about what marriage does to you, for you.
He kicks it off by looking at true friendship, which he says is absolutely central. He talks about constancy, friends loving at all times, Proverbs 17.17.
And sticking closer than a brother, especially in adversity. That's Proverbs 18.24. It's about being there.
But it's also about transparency, candor. Real friends give you both affirmation, the good stuff from Proverbs 27.9.
But also the tough stuff. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, right?
Yeah.
Proverbs 27.56. And that iron sharpens iron idea from 27.1, helping each other get better, even when it's hard.
The part that really struck me, though, was sympathy or common passion, that C.S. Lewis secret thread thing.
Yeah. Finding someone who cares about the same things you do.
Exactly. Not just looking at each other, but standing shoulder to shoulder, looking out at the same thing together, being captivated by it.
So if that's natural friendship, he then layers on Christian friendship, which adds this, like extra strength. Well, despite all our differences, background, personality, whatever, believers share this indestructible steel cable, he calls it.
Okay.
It's that shared experience of God's grace in the gospel and looking forward together to the new creation. Philippians 1.6, God finishing his work in us. Romans 8, talking about that future hope. 1 John 3, becoming like him. It's a shared ultimate destination.
So practically, that looks like spiritual constancy. Bearing burdens, Galatians 6.2.
Yep. Encouraging each other, like 1 Thessalonians 5 talks about. Sharing lives, Hebrews 13. It's like those buddy movies he mentions where different people bond over a shared mission.
Right.
And the big question becomes, how do these two kinds of friendship, the natural and the Christian one, how do they mix? Keller says marriage is the place where they can merge with romantic love, making it the potentially richest relationship.
Why? Because of the shared goal.
Exactly. Because you're journeying together towards the highest horizon, becoming like Christ. That's the ultimate shared mission.
Which brings us to a really radical idea. Your spouse should be your best friend.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. He points to Proverbs 2.17, calling a spouse your alep, a special confidant.
That must have been mind-blowing in ancient times, when marriage was often just a deal.
And it's still pretty radical today, honestly, when we tend to put romance or sex way ahead of deep friendship.
So what's the mission then, according to Paul in Ephesians 5?
It's not status, not even just happiness primarily. It's about sanctifying each other, helping each other become holy and blameless, radiant in splendor. That's Ephesians 5, 2627.
Wow. So the mission is actually working towards that new creation within each other.
Precisely. The work Jesus is already doing in us, Philippians 1.6, 2 Corinthians 3 and 4, talk about that transformation. Marriage is a key place that happens.
Okay, so if you're single, looking for someone, what's the advice?
Screen for friendship first. Find someone who gets you, who makes you better. See if that can grow into romance and marriage instead of just chasing looks or money. Remember, Adam needed a companion, bone of his bones, not just, a partner.
That connects to the priority of marriage. If your spouse isn't your best friend, your main emotional focus.
Other things rush in to fill the gap, right? Career, kids, hobbies. Keller says that's deadly for the marriage.
He links it to that Genesis 2.24 command, quoted in Ephesians 5, leave father and mother and cleave to his wife, which you mentioned was shocking back then.
Totally. It means the marriage bond has to come before all others, even parents.
And it's not just physical leaving, it's emotional priority.
Absolutely. He talks about pseudo-spouses, like when someone values their parents' opinion over their spouses, or they're completely wrapped up in the kids, or their job becomes their real relationship.
Those things steal the energy the marriage needs.
They do. They prevent the marriage from having that supreme priority it requires to flourish.
Which underlines the power of marriage. When it's strong, it's this incredible foundation, right? Even when life is hard.
Yeah, lets you face the world with strength. But a weak marriage, it undermines everything else. It has this unique power because God instituted it.
And its purpose demands that unequal priority, the ultimate goal being
sanctification, making us more like Jesus, full of the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, Galatians 5.
Now, Keller also talks about marriage having this power of truth. What's that about?
It's basically that marriage shows you yourself, warts and all. It's not necessarily your spouse pointing fingers, but the intimacy itself kind of holds up a mirror, an unflattering picture sometimes.
Like that story of Rob and Jessica, where his issues came out?
Exactly. And her loving persistence, grounded in the marriage vow, helped him face it instead of running. It stops you running from the damaged person, which includes yourself.
Then there's Kathy Keller's godly tantrum, smashing the china.
Yeah, but not just an emotional outburst, right? It was a firm, maybe dramatic way of insisting he listens about his overwork. Hebrews 3.13 encourages us to exhort each other. Marriage gives you a unique right and responsibility to do that.
But it's not just tough truths. There's also the power of love.
Yes, the power to affirm and heal. Keller shares very personally how Kathy helped him overcome old insecurities, made him feel capable, like Superman. Marriage can uniquely convince you of your worth and beauty.
Okay, but how do you give that love effectively? That leads to the love languages idea.
Right, or love currency. He uses their own great dirty diaper conflict. They both felt unloved because they were speaking different languages. He needed respect. She needed practical help.
So the lesson is, learn their language.
Yes. Figure out what your spouse finds most emotionally valuable and make an effort to express love that way. He groups them into affection, friendship, and service.
Like actually doing the dishes without being asked might mean more than flowers to some people.
Exactly. Or quality time means more than gifts. We need to stop filtering their attempts through our own preferred language. Like the Spruills, he gave golf clubs, she wanted ironed shirts. Or the wife wanting a washer-dryer, not a fur coat. It's about their perceived value.
And Keller ties all this back to the gospel, doesn't he?
Beautifully. He says marriage works when you grasp this paradox. You're more sinful and flawed than you ever dared believe. But you're also more loved and accepted in Jesus Christ than you ever dare hope.
That humility and security.
It gives you the emotional wealth to love your spouse generously, even when they fail. Because your deepest need for love is met by God. Like the Tsar paying his son's debts, seeing the failure but covering it out of love.
He also touches on gender roles briefly.
Yeah, clarifying it's not rigid cultural stereotypes, but complementarity reflecting the Trinity. Male and female, Genesis 1. Adam naming Eve, Genesis 2 and 3, suggests headship, but Eve, as easier helper, protector, shows equal dignity.
The fall messed it up, turning difference into exploitation.
Right, Genesis 3. But Jesus redeems it. He, though equal with God, became a servant, Philippians 2, redefining headship as servant authority, John 13. Both spouses get to model Jesus' sacrificial authority, sacrificial submission, countercultural stuff.
And that leads to cross-gender enrichment, learning from each other's perspectives.
Seeing things differently actually helps you both grow. Their own examples, like Tim being Mr. Mom or Kathy's tantrum, show it plays out differently for everyone.
And he brings up singleness again, even though the main chapter is later.
Just briefly, framing it as Paul did in 1 Corinthians 7, a gift, a freedom for ministry, not a deficiency. He critiques cultures that sideline singles and our culture's unrealistic apocalyptic romance.
He challenges singles not to buy into worldly standards and married folks to be real about the struggle.
Exactly. Show the hard embattled parts so singles get a realistic picture.
Okay, wow. A lot in that chapter. If you had to boil it down, what are, say, 5 key lessons from the mission of marriage?
Okay, 5 big ones.
Marriage is a covenant of sacrificial commitment. It's not just feelings, it's a promise to give yourself for the other's good, and that changes you both.
Got it. Number 2.
Second, your spouse is your best friend on a mission. It's designed for deep companionship, helping each other journey towards becoming more like Christ. Third, marriage reveals and refines you. It shows you your flaws, the power of truth, but also heals and affirms through the power of love. It grows you up.
Makes sense. Fourth,
love is in action, learn its language. Lasting love means choosing to serve and learning to express love in ways your spouse actually receives and values.
crucial. And the last one.
Fifth, marriage reflects the gospel. Its whole purpose points to Christ's love for the church. That makes it a witness and the vehicle for your own sanctification and ultimately your deepest joy.
Powerful stuff. Really frames marriage in a much bigger context.
It really does. Less about finding the perfect person, more about the journey you take together.
Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss out on episodes 5 to 8.